When I was first getting back into cards and creating content, honestly, the content that I was looking for didn't really exist. And the poll that I'm going to be talking about comes from Chris Stuber, who now he works for GTS, but in the past he's done like his own kind of content thing. And I mean, I honestly want to give him a huge shout out because he was one of the first original people that I saw doing like designed sports card content. Like he had like full breakdowns of players and certain cards, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. And actually was pretty inspiring kind of in my journey, if I'm going to be honest, for when I was first getting into sports card content in general. So on Twitter, like I said, he put out a poll that I thought was pretty interesting. He said, what trading card flaw bothers you the most? And then he had four options. So he had surface scratch, corner ding, edge chipping, and then off centering. So the results basically went like this. So last was edge chipping at 10%, then surface scratch at 16%, and corner ding at 34%, which is what I voted for, and then off centering at 40%. And I think all of these results, I think would be very good for grading companies to look into, or even card companies in general. Now, I'm sure if like, I don't know, Chris has his own following on social media, but I'm sure if, I don't know, I think I just looked, he has a decent amount of followers, but like if a big company, I guess maybe they don't necessarily, a big company wouldn't want to put out a poll like this necessarily, but either way, I think the data is kind of interesting if card companies were to look at something like this and to try and figure out if they need to fix any of these things, because all of these sort of flaws come within production of cards. Now, it is probably hard. The off centering is one that I think we have seen a pretty significant increase of from Panini products over the past few years. Topps too, but I mean, I don't know. Topps doesn't necessarily do as many cards. Like Topps does a lot of they've done a lot of full board. They've done a lot of non-border or like 3-border or 2-border cards, where a lot of Panini's cards are full border. I'm sure there's certain products that they aren't full border, but for the most part, you look at the big ones like Prism, Donruss, Optic. Most of those designs are going to be the full border. So when it comes to the off centering, that's something like that's just going to happen, and I don't know how you really stop it from happening. I guess like unless someone is QCing the machine and like they see that somehow that a few of the cards are coming off center, so they have to stop the machine, get everything back in center. But at the same time, I look at that one and I just say, I don't know what they could do to really fix it. I mean, unless getting better machines to cut the cards that can cut them a little bit better, that's really the only thing I can think of. When it comes to the corner dinging, which is what I voted for, that's coming from the machine probably as well, because nowadays, like back in the day, the collation, I would imagine, probably was done by hand. So, the machine nowadays is cutting and then moving the cards into the position to get them packed as they are. In the surface scratch and edge chipping kind of comes along the same lines as like the cutting, because if the blade coming down isn't sharp enough, which I don't necessarily know how often they're, sharpening the blades, but like that's probably where some of the edge chipping comes in. If it's not sharp enough, you're going to see probably not a clean cut on the card, which could cause that edge chipping. And then the surface scratch, that one obviously is going to come from like if the cards are moving around. This is before it gets to the pack. I mean, if you get a card and you put it in like a stack or something along those lines, there's a chance that you could scratch some of the cards, really. But like but for whatever, again, it's something where I don't know how this machine exactly works, but I guess it would be interesting if one company like went really behind the scenes nowadays, because I have seen videos in the past of cards being cut and put into packs, but like the process now must just be absolutely insane. Like they must just have those printers and those cutters and the packers, like they must just have all of these things running like almost 24/7 because of how much product they're coming out with now compared to, even 5 years ago. There's just the machines, they must just never get a break, which then that also can probably lead to some of these flaws, because if the machine doesn't, if the machine's not getting a break, it's going to eventually slow down to a point where, like, I don't know, there's going to be some performance issues with the actual machine itself, and that's going to cause maybe some of the paper to shift, or some of the, like I said, the blade may be dull, or there's any number of different reasons why some of these things happen within production. I just think that, whichever company can really do the best job at QCing these products in the future, they're going to be in a good position, because if there's one thing that people want, it's just they want nice looking cards, good cards. Like, they don't want to open up a pack and pull their favorite card, and the next thing they know, they look at the card and, like I said, it's either not centered, or the edges are chipped, or or the corners dinged, or any number of these things that can happen within the production of these cards in the factory. Now, I can't lie, there is a chance that if you're listening to this, depending on when you're listening to this card is out. It has been announced. It has, whatever type of card it is. It's a Taylor Swift card, and I understand what you might be saying if you're listening to this podcast. You might be saying, "Oh my God, we get it. Taylor Swift was at the Chiefs game. She might be dating Travis Kelce. It might be a publicity stunt, whatever." But it kind of goes to my point about what I thought could potentially have happened with Prism, WWE, UFC. Now, obviously, Panini, there's a huge crazy thing going on with Panini. I don't know. I don't know if this will ever happen now because of what's going to really transpire here. But celebrity cards. I think the print-on-demand celebrity cards are worth it for the companies to come out with. Now, I guess you kind of can look at it from two ways. You might look at it and say, well, if they don't sell that many of the cards, is it really worth it? And I guess, potentially not, because we also have, like, Allen and Ginter, there's also, like, Goodwin Champions, so there are celebrity cards in the market, but I do think that it would be cool for collectors if they could get celebrity cards of their favorite celebrities before they're super, super famous. I mean, obviously, Taylor Swift is probably one of the biggest artists right now, so, if you're getting a Taylor Swift card, you're not, like, prospecting Taylor Swift, but, like, it's another conversation of, like, how do you even, like, who would even be able to come out with that card, because, like, I don't know, Topps obviously hasn't really done any football stuff this year yet, but they have done it with college, so I do wonder if there's an opportunity there where, because they have the NIL contract, they could potentially jump on this opportunity of, like, like Lil Wayne, for example, was at the Colorado game a couple weeks ago. It was either last week. Yeah, I think it was last week, I'm pretty sure. And, like, celebrities are going to the Colorado games because of Deion Sanders. Now, the Topps does the Bowman U or Bowman Next. Like I said, I forget off the top of my head what the actual product is called, but they are doing college cards. So, like, is that an area where I guess there's probably some sort of licensing fee they would have to pay, and if you're looking at it from Topps' perspective, Taylor Swift might not be viable, but, like, the way that like Leaf did this, like, the way, if you look at, like, Leaf's cards, they've done these kind of, like, I mean, not even really micro celebrities, like, they have millions and millions of followers on social media. Now, I think maybe social media doesn't translate to real life as much as it used to. Like, I think social media celebrities used to be much more famous. Like, I've always thought this, like, if you look at a social media's, if you look at anyone's feed, you can probably come across multiple 3 to 4 people that have 1 million followers that you have just never heard of. Now, even for me, as someone who's on social media, like, a lot, there's so many more people that have a million followers nowadays than there was even just 3 or 4 years ago, especially with TikTok. I mean, I think I saw a Gary Vee clip where he was talking about the TikTokification of social media. I actually need to go back and listen to what he said, because I didn't listen to the full clip, so I'm not 100% sure what the point he was trying to make was, but I think it was just that a celebrity can become a social media celebrity. Maybe this is what he was trying to say, overnight. That could have potentially been the point. But when it comes to, like, cards here, like a artist, if Zach Bryan, or, like, if, like, Noah Khan, who's kind of like a social media guy right now, like, if he were to attend one of these college games, Topps could jump on the opportunity. And I actually even think that it might be worth Topps's time to pay the celebrity to go to the game if they think that they can come up with the print run to make their money back, because it's all part of a marketing opportunity, I think, here. Obviously, when you're doing these types of activations within marketing and you're doing social media and influencer marketing, you obviously want to try and make your money back. But I also think at the same time is like your brand associating with, if you're Topps or you're Panini, your brand associating with somebody who is famous, but maybe not as mainstream famous as they could be potentially. I think that is a good opportunity for those companies to like sort of even just have like somebody at the company who has a little bit more savvy when it comes to that type of thing, because just overall it feels like, I mean, it almost feels like with Panini, it feels like they've been a little bit out of the loop when it comes to what they do versus what social media maybe says that they should do, potentially. And I think maybe that conversation, I think, is a little bit different than the one that I'm having here. Like, if Topps goes to, I don't know, some random celebrity or some random person and said, hey, go to this game, we're going to make a card of you, and they kind of plan it all beforehand. And, I mean, even, like, I don't know. I mean, there even could be some sort of activation at the game, like, where if you buy a ticket from, I guess I don't know if Fanatics is partnered with any ticketing platform, but it almost feels like that could be a potential opportunity where if Fanatics is partnered with, I don't know, StubHub or Vivid Seats or Ticketmaster or something, I don't know if they are, they could potentially do a whole marketing campaign around that player or that person going to a game. And then if you buy a ticket through this platform, and all you have to do is put in your home address, and if you can say how many you want to buy, maybe you want to buy more than just one, or maybe you want to buy multiple of the card, you could do that potentially too. So I don't know. I just think it would be a cool opportunity for one of these card companies to really kind of dive a little bit deeper in. I mean, I understand, Leaf has done this, and I know there is another company, I think it's called Creator. They have done, like, social media celebrities like this, but they more or less do, like, YouTubers, and I guess it's maybe more of, like, a musician type of card is what I think there could be an opportunity for. That would be really cool for collectors and people, like, if you can get in on whatever the first card of, like I said, Noah Khan, or like any sort of social media celebrity, or any like big artist that's kind of coming into the scene now. And I mean, like I said, Taylor Swift, she's completely on a different stratosphere, but like a Taylor Swift card, and I know it wouldn't be her first card, I still think would be a cool card. Like I said, if you're listening to this, the potentially could be coming out, because it seems like it's the most viral thing that happened this weekend in the NFL, and I don't see why Panini wouldn't try and do something like this. So it may be out, it may not, but I think that is, if it doesn't come out and it's not out, then I think that's a huge opportunity loss for any of the companies that could have made this card. So on one of the shows last week, I talked about Topps. They accidentally produced 2 superfractors for a player from this year's Bowman Chrome, I believe. It has appeared that there have been 3 more players that have been confirmed by people pulling the cards, and then other people also pulling the cards. One being a first Bowman, and then I think the other 2 were not first Bowmans. And this is really a pretty big issue, and I'm surprised that Topps hasn't come out with some sort of statement. I mean, I guess the fact that it was revealed last week that this was a possibility, maybe they were waiting until more players were confirmed, because Topps has been pretty good at coming out and making statements about mistakes that they've made. Like, I believe there was like a Randy Arozarena. I forget who the other player was, but there was like, maybe it was Hunter Renfroe. I forget who the other player was, but there was an issue with one of the players being like, this is not, I did not sign these cards. So there was like a dual autograph that came out of some product. I don't remember which product it was, but like Topps came out and said, all of these autographs, we are going to fulfill. Like, we are going to, if you send us this card, we're going to send you the real card back. Now, that's not necessarily Topps' fault per se. Like, that's not their fault that they didn't recognize that the card wasn't signed by the actual player, like, because, like, sure, they probably looked at the player's autograph and said, like, if it's close, we have so many other autographs that we have to, like, authenticate and say are real, that, like, they're trying to just get through as many of these cards as they can. So it's not necessarily their fault. Now, 2 superfractors being produced, that is probably a much bigger issue than an autograph from some random product, especially if it's a first Bowman superfractor, because, like, realistically, the only thing that I can think of that would have been this is, like, they produced the cards, but then they didn't send them the autograph. So, like, the superfractor that should have been a superfractor with the autograph, like, that didn't get sent. So, like, those players would be able to confirm if they signed a superfractor potentially, or their agents, because, like, if you're a player, you know, they're signing so many cards that are going into Bowman. I wouldn't expect a player to recognize that, or a player to even know what a superfractor is, or like or a player who would be signing a first Bowman card. Like, if you're a player like a Mike Trout, or you're a player like a Mookie Betts, like, I think at this point you should know sort of what cards are what, I suppose. Like, if you sign that many cards and you're such a big name, I guess I kind of associate signatures with you should potentially know. But at the same time, like, maybe not. Like, again, they're signing so many cards. It's like, at what point are they just like, I don't even know what I'm signing here. Like, I'm just signing because this card is in front of me. I'm signing, push it over, signing, push it over, signing, push it over, signing, push it over. Like, whatever the thing is. Now, I don't know, because the other problem is, like, do we even know that, like, there is a superfractor auto for any of these players in this product? Because, like, unless Topps comes out and really says that there is not, then we will never know. Like, sure, any of those players could have a superfractor auto pop up, but, like, also the other issue here, especially with Bowman, is, like, there are multiple different distribution windows, I think. Like, there are, like, all of Bowman doesn't get distributed at the same time, I don't think. Like, there are waves of it. So, I don't know, if Topps were to just, like, sneak a superfractor auto into a product, like, they could potentially kind of get out of this with, like, 2 single superfractor, or 2 one-of-one superfractors coming out of the product for a single player. Like, that would be kind of scummy, and that would be really bad, because, like, I don't know, like, I don't even know really how you fix it at this point. Like, I think last week when I talked about the cards, like, I was thinking, like, maybe you try and get them to send the cards in, and you say, like, I just think, because also I think that this honestly might have to also do with the Victor Wembanyama thing, like, where the Victor Wembanyama card was, maybe it's a conspiracy, but I do think this, like, I think that the Victor Wembanyama card, the first ever superfractor, the first ever autograph, or whatever the thing is, of the one of that was, like, I think it was 1 of 99. I think that was supposed to be part of the print run when it came to the redemptions, but I think what happened was that they put in 100 redemptions potentially into Bowman basketball, with kind of the thought that, like, there's no way that because they probably, I don't think they did it on purpose, but I think they looked at it and said, if we look at, maybe they have some spreadsheet, maybe they don't. I think that they probably do, of, like, anytime someone is a redemption within a product, if there are 99 redemption autographs, the chances that all 99 are redeemed are they're significantly low. So that's why I think potentially within Bowman, there are 99 there's 99 redemptions. And then technically, if you look at this, there would be, I guess technically there should only be 99 with the one of 99, which is the first ever autograph being one of the 99. But I think that there were 99 that were put into Bowman basketball, but then the one of the 99, which is the first ever autograph, ends up being like this extra kind of thing that like doesn't really count in the grand scheme of things. Like technically, I think that there are 99 redemptions within the product, but I think that technically 98 of them, if 98 of them are redeemed, one of the 99 will not get redeemed. Like will just, for whatever reason, just won't get redeemed, because I think they probably looked at it and said, there's this problem. And I think it may be tied to the issue with these superfractors multiple superfractors all going into the products. Like I don't know if it's like a team or if it's like a single person that's supposed to be in charge of QCing these like super high-end, like really rare cards that are making sure that some are going into products and some are not going into products. I think that there was potentially an issue there where in the past year, like I can't think of any time where this has really happened, where there have been multiple Topps Bowman, there's been multiple superfractors. Like it would have been a story like this no matter when it happened. So the fact that it's happening now, and the fact that there's this Victor Wembanyama story, I think that they're tied together, and I don't know if Fanatics or Topps, like what they're really going to do to make sure that this isn't an issue. I hope that they have internally figured out how to make sure this doesn't happen again, because it makes the industry look really bad when it's happened 4 times and we still, like, it's happened 3 times in the past week and then 1 time last week, and we still have so much of this product to be opened that I hope that they are able to look at this and say, we need to do damage control and we need to figure out how to lessen the blow here, because we think that there are probably, I don't know, 10 more or 5 more. Like at this point, we don't really even know how many more there could be, but it's only, and the problem is that only time will tell. But also, like, if somebody who isn't on social media isn't able to post that they have this card, who knows how many there really is? Like, who knows how many duplicate one-of-one superfractors there really are? And like, why did this happen? I think that's where Topps needs to come out and make some sort of statement. But like I said, we'll see what happens, because I don't know. Topps hasn't come out with a statement yet. I'm kind of surprised if they haven't. They could have had a chance to say, they had a chance last week to come out and say, we know this is an issue. This is going to be an issue in the future. We know that there are X amount more that could be like this. They could come out and make a fix for it, but they didn't. They let it go because, I don't know, for whatever reason. So now we're at the situation where there's 4 one-of-one superfractors coming out of this year's Bowman, and who knows how many more there are going to come out as people keep pulling this product. I definitely have these moments where I feel like my opinion may not be the consensus when it comes to sports cards and the commentary on sports cards. But, like, there was an announcement today, essentially, about hoops, NBA hoops. The release date, I think the design was released, a bunch of things. And like I said, this is my opinion on this. Like, it may not be a consensus opinion, but this is just what it feels like to me. So I'm gonna kind of talk, and maybe this is correct, maybe it's not correct. I'm not 100% sure, to be completely honest, but this is just, I like talking about things on this podcast that I feel and that I think. So that's what I'm going to do. And if you don't like it, then at this point, I think I would imagine most people, I don't know, it's a daily podcast. If you listen to the podcast every day, I hope that you would think that the stuff that I'm saying is interesting and maybe you sort of agree with me, whatever. Either way. So like I said, announcement for hoops, which is kind of crazy that it's already gotten to this point where the new releases for basketball products are coming out. And that I think this is either this year or next year is the last year of the Panini deal, which, if we've seen what's happened with WWE, and we've seen what's happened with NIL, and we've seen what's happened with a couple other sports, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of announcement coming soon that, like, Panini is just, or no, Topps and Fanatics are just taking over the basketball license. Like, WWE is a little bit different because it's not like there's no like season for there's years for the products, but like a season in the NBA is like a full season. Like there's an off season. WWE, there's no real off season necessarily. But here's the point. The point that I'm trying to make is that I feel like over the past few years, the excitement for certain products has diminished, and it almost just feels like each product's release is just like another release. And I don't know if this is just a Panini thing or if it's a Panini and Topps thing. Like, I do think that Bowman, for example, is a big release for Topps, and I do not feel this way really for that product necessarily, but like with hoops, like it just feels like there should be a bigger emphasis from Panini on like hoops, because it's like the first product release of the year, and I almost feel like it hasn't been like that. Like there's been no, for Panini, the way that they market their products is like they come out with so many products in the first place, which I think we could argue is a good or a bad thing. I think it's maybe less good. It's less good than it is bad. Like I would say it's probably, if we're looking at a scale, it's probably on like a 6.5 or 7 on the bad side, if I'm going to be honest, with how many products Panini is coming out with. But it just feels like each product that comes out, there's no like excitement to it anymore. And I don't know if that's, like I said, that's my opinion on this, and I don't know if this is the consensus within cards. I feel like it probably, I don't know. I feel like it is, because like it just feels like for me, like the hoops product was like, when they released the hoops product, it's like, yes, this is the start of the NBA season. This is the start of the new players being included in products. This is exciting. This is the first product with players in their new uniforms. It's exciting. Like over the past few years, now it also could be like a Zion LaMelo Ball thing, where I was excited for Zion. I was excited for LaMelo Ball. I wasn't excited for the last couple classes necessarily, because there wasn't like that hype crazy player. Now this year there's obviously Wembanyama, but it just feels like maybe the excitement isn't there. And it could be the draft class, if I'm going to be completely honest. Like, when they released the first Wembanyama Prism card, like, maybe that's a card where I'm going to be like, wow, this is crazy, this is awesome. But also at the same time, it's like, I'm not as excited because I just know how many of them there are. And it almost feels like, the Wizard of Oz, when they pull the curtain away and they see that this guy that everyone was so scared of, and everyone was like, oh, there was like I guess not really the villain, but the guy behind the curtain turns out to just be some regular normal guy. It almost feels like that's what's happened within sports cards, if I'm going to be completely honest. Like, it almost feels like the curtain has been like pulled away, and we're seeing sort of some of the back end stuff about cards, and it just feels like a little bit less exciting that like Wembanyama is going to get a Prism card and he's going to be a rookie, and it's just because we know how much of this product there actually is. And I guess it's maybe, I don't know, it could be like an influencer thing. It could be like any multitude of different things. Like, I remember in 2018, 2019, making content and being so excited for the release of Hoops and being so excited for the release of Prism that it was like, I knew the day off the top of my head. Like, I could be like, this is the release date. I know what it is. And now I can't say that I know the release, if I'm going to be completely honest. I can't say that I know the release date for any of the specific release date. I mean, I'm sure I could probably think of it like, Hoops is probably going to be like a November it's probably a November release. If I had to, I guess I'm guessing right now off the top of my head, because like I said, I don't know. No, it's probably, well, so now also it's a little bit skewed because I think, because of the pandemic and all these things, release dates were all changed and all these kind of things, and it almost feels like that also could have been a reset, where Panini comes out with their schedule and they say these are the dates. I don't know. Like I said, it just feels like nowadays the excitement of each release is like the same, which is not high because they're all the same, and there's no prestige, it feels like, behind any of these products. Like, Sure, a blaster box of hoops is going to have like 12 cards per pack. I think there's probably 8 cards per box. But it's like, hoops is supposed to be coming out, and you can still go and buy last year's hoops at a Walmart or at a Target. So it's like, that may be another thing where it's like, we almost have jumped the shark where what is going to happen to last year's product? Now, it could be because, I don't know, Chet Holmgren got hurt, and he was a big pick, so maybe people aren't excited, so they're not dashing out to the store to get these products. But, I don't know. There's just so much of it, and there's so many of it, that it feels like it's twofold. It feels like Panini hasn't spent the time to make each release special, but also, like I said, it's the Wizard of Oz. I feel like we have seen behind the curtain. We've broken the fourth wall. We know we have a pretty good idea of how much of this product there is. So I'm not as excited. I wish I was. I cover a lot of these topics on the podcast. So like when Hoops officially comes out, like it's probably going to be something I'll be like, today is the Hoops release. Like this is the beginning of the release schedule. But it's like I've talked about this on other podcasts where I think WWE does a phenomenal job at marketing their pay-per-views each month because they completely change their marketing and creative around that specific pay-per-view. And I just wish that card companies would do something similar with their products that are coming out. Or at least every month come out with some sort of new thing and not just put out a tweet that's like, today is the release of this product. It's like just get us a little bit more excited than just be like released. But also there's so many products. It's like, I get why they can't necessarily do it, but I don't know. I just wish that there was a way they could do it, but I don't know. Like I said, my opinion may not be the consensus, but at least for right now, I'm not as excited for the release of Hoops as maybe I should be. Okay, so either last night or the night before, depending on when you're listening to this. I guess if you're listening to this on Friday, it would have been Wednesday night or Thursday night. I think it was Wednesday night. We saw history happen in the MLB. Ronald Acuna became the first ever player to hit 40 home runs and steal 70 bases, and it seems like it should be a much bigger deal. Like, I feel like I use social media probably a little bit more than I should, if I'm going to be completely honest, but like, I saw a lot about it on Wednesday, but then it was like, it almost didn't even, like, it seems like this should be like the biggest deal in all of sports right now, and it almost feels like, too, Acuna, for whatever reason, like, isn't, I guess he is a superstar. Like, he is on pace, in my opinion, to be one of the greatest players of this generation, and I think we are seeing players that are going to be they're going to be considered in 10, 20 years the best players of these generations. You got the Mike Trout, you got Mookie Betts, you got Shohei Ohtani, you got and then Ronald Acuna. I think those are probably four of, in 20 years, we're going to look back and we're going to say those were the four best players of, I guess, the 2020s maybe, like, because Trout rookie in 2011, so he had all of the 2010s. And I don't know, I mean, I wish Trout would, like, win something. Like, I wish at some point he would win something. The Angels, I just don't understand what their deal is. Like, I don't understand how they paid Trout, but then why they can't figure out how to put together a good team. Like, now Ohtani is going to leave, and I guess maybe he doesn't. Like, maybe I think him being on the West Coast is more likely than him moving to the East Coast because he's closer to Japan. Like, I don't know if he moves to Seattle. I don't know if he moves to a different team on the West Coast, whether it's San Diego maybe, but or San Francisco. I just don't see him leaving the West Coast, because if he can take, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours off of a flight to go home from here like that, and he can still make all the money he wants. But that's not the point that I'm trying to make here. The point that I'm trying to make here is that what I don't understand is how any other player has cards that are the same price as Acuna's. Like, I don't understand how Acuna's cards are not some of the most expensive in all of sports cards right now. I don't understand how somebody could buy any prospect, any new prospect, any first Bowman from 2020 to now,
spend a couple $1,000s and not just spend the $1,000 on Acuna. Like that, it almost doesn't seem like even that those cards are actually selling. Like, and that's a conspiracy because I think that they are selling, but like, it is so wildly out of the realm of possibility. If I were someone that had that amount of money to buy cards, I would just be buying Acuna cards. Like Acuna, Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Mike Trout, for examples here. And it just doesn't make any sense to me why people would spend money on players that are not established. Like, why would you spend, like, I get that maybe some people want to buy the number to 5 red autographs coming out of Bowman, or the superfractors, or, you know, the number to 99 autographs. But it's just like, if you're at some point, there's just diminishing, it feels like there's just diminishing returns. And I guess it is gambling. Like, that's one way I think I could look at it. But I almost just think if a player is that expensive and they haven't really even played, like, where is even the upside? And this is the same with quarterbacks, maybe in the NFL. And I know we've, if you listen to the show, we've had that conversation in the past of like who you should be buying, who you shouldn't be buying. But it's like Acuna is just like he has global superstar, face of the league written all over him, and he's a World Series champion, which he was unfortunately hurt when that happened. And I do also, is again another little bit of conspiracy theory. I do subscribe to the concept of the butterfly effect, that like if Acuna doesn't get hurt, maybe the Braves don't make some certain trade, or maybe they don't play a certain player on a certain day and they lose a game, and it's all kind of, I think each thing is connected within it. So like if Acuna, who knows what would have happened if Acuna had played and been on that team. Maybe they don't win the World Series. I'm not 100% sure. But it's just like I said, the cards, I just don't understand how anybody could be buying baseball cards and not buy Acuna, Ohtani, any of these players that are like the Mookie Betts. I mean, Betts obviously being a Red Sox player, like which granted, I think they put up Mookie Betts versus Barry Bonds' statistics over the course of Barry Bonds when he was at this point in his career versus Mookie Betts, and it's like the same. Like the home runs were like, it was like 5 or 6 different. And obviously, Barry Bonds went on to use a bunch of steroids and hit 70, 60, 50 home runs throughout a season. And Mookie Betts probably won't get to that level. But I also think, like, the level that Mookie Betts is playing at, he probably could play for maybe a lot longer than Barry Bonds did potentially. But it's like these players that are bona fide, all worldly superstar level players, and if you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure that you probably aren't someone that's buying those types of cards, but at the same time, it's just like, I guess it grinds my gears. I mean, I'm making a whole show about it, but it's like, Acuna he just became the first player, like 70 stolen bases is insane. Like, not only did he get 70 stolen bases, he also got 40 home runs. It's like, those two numbers are like, for a player to do something like that, it is like so historic that it doesn't make much sense that this is not like, and so he should probably win the MVP realistically. And I know like Matt Olson, I think, has like 50 home runs or something like that, and Mookie Betts has 100 RBIs. But the fact that, like, I was watching ESPN like a week or two ago, and I was watching or maybe it was PTI. It was some show on ESPN, and they were talking about who was going to win the MVP, and they were like, "What's more impressive? Mookie Betts' RBIs or Matt Olson's home runs?" And it's like, Ronald Acuna is going to be. He almost has 70 stolen bases. He already, at that point, he would have already had 60, so he already had what would have been almost 40 home runs and 60 stolen bases. How is he not far and away the MVP of the league? Like, how do they not even say there's no AL MVP this year? It's just Acuna. It doesn't make much sense to me. And it translates to cards a little bit, because I just don't understand how people can spend hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of dollars on these prospects when a player like Ronald Acuna just hit 40 home runs and stole 70 bases. It doesn't make much sense to me. I don't think it ever will, if I'm going to be completely honest either.